Hello, everybody. So today, what we're going to be going over is what I think is a very important topic: how we're going to answer economics questions. One of the things I see a lot, whether it's tutoring or in my own work, is that a lot of people don't fully understand how to answer an economics question, even though they have a very strong grasp of the economics that underlie that question. And so I'm going to go over three different things that you should include in an answer for every single economics question you're ever asked, whether it be an assignment, whether it's a test, whether it's a quiz, doesn't matter, or even just working through a problem in your own head. There are three key elements. So we'll go over those. I'll also go over a hint on how to improve these, and this is especially relevant in the test environment because despite what people may tell you, how you present your answers does matter. Graders do look at it. After that, we're going to be going over the very economics-based question 1 plus 1. And I'm only going to use this to show how a question should be outlined. So we all know what 1 plus 1 equals, but in this case, I'm going to use it to show you what your answer should look like, and what the best way to lay it out is, and how to implement some of these factors. So the first one that we really want to go over, and this one is probably one that a lot of people have, but also a lot of people forget, maybe 50-50, is a graph. And graphs are central to economics, especially at the lower divisions, so having a graph is key. The graphs that you really hammer home your points, whether or not you fully understand. So if you fully understand the topic, it really hammers home that this is what I fully understand, and that'll get you full marks. And if you don't understand it, it looks impressive at the very least, and you're liable to get some marks there. And the second, and everybody does this, I put it in more because of the hint, but making sure you have an explanation. So once in a while we'll get a math question or something, and it's tempting not to put in any sort of explanation. I think even in the case where it's pure mathematics, in an economics problem, this is especially relevant at intro to micro and stuff like that. It's important to have an explanation of what you're doing. And finally, a lot of people forget this in almost every question that's not math-based, is an equation. A lot of economics is heavily based on math, and so including an equation can really make your answers seem much more clear and make it, if you don't understand what you're talking about, make it sound more like you know what you're talking about. Finally, two things to suggest to improve your answers, especially on tests. Number one is color. And I think color is huge. Using colors on your graph, get a 4-color pen. It makes it look even more impressive, especially if you don't know what you're talking about. And the second one is underlying keywords in your explanation. So a lot of people have the explanation, they have the buzzwords in there, which is something you should be aiming to do, but they forget, they forget to underline those and really highlight them, because a lot of graders, that's what they look for, the buzzwords. So moving on, let's first do the equation. We know the answer 1 plus 1 is going to obviously equal 2. So, boom. Check mark for the third one there, we have our equation. Next, let's go through and do a graph. So we're just going to draw our axes. And then you're thinking, well, how am I going to do this? In this case, it's fairly simple. I'm going to look for the colors. I'm going to add some color here. So we have that. That's going to be 1. Now let's go get blue. We're going to take blue, we'll line that up properly, and there, that's 2. So now we just have to label things. Go 1, there, that's 1 space, that's 1, and then boom. Together, that's going to be 2. And this seems really simple and pointless because, it's 1 plus 1. We know what the answer to this is. I'm just going to do this explanation in font because I don't want to write it out. But it really solidifies more complex stuff. So now we're going to go into an explanation. And I always like to start off when we do this question. And the reason I do that is because I think it makes me sound sort of like a professor. It's what the TA or whoever's grading it is used to hearing. I'm going to capitalize add, even though normally I would underline it. I think I'll underline it later. In most cases, I would just underline it. And here I capitalized it because it's important. And then I'm going to add an example. So if you have one, let's say, apple, and I have one apple, How many apples do we have? We have 2 apples. And so there we go. We now have everything we need. The equation, the graph, and the explanation. Just quickly underline this. I'd underline add and 2 apples, I believe, just because I think they're important. And boom, this is a complete, fully answered question. And I think it does a really good job of hitting all the key elements of a question.